The Lightning Storm Summon Druid is the fastest build I have ever played, and it's basically fully online by level 25. Let's talk about it. When it comes to the skills, your first couple points go into Wind Shear with the Fierce Wind Shear rune. This is going to be your resource generator as well as give you a little bit of movement speed, which the Druid innately kind of lacks, but not really, but kind of does. And then your main skill obviously is Lightning Storm, so you max this one out. You get the enhanced rune for it, but then I actually go Raging because I like having the one extra bolt on my Lightning Storms. It really adds to the AoE. And then after that, you just get 1 point into Heart of the Wild so that you can max out both Abundance and Wild Impulses. This is going to generate you more resource, but also consume more resource to do more damage. On the defensive part of the tree, we just have 15 into your resistances. And then the summon part is actually super important, and you'll understand why when I go over the Shepherd's aspect, but you get at least 1 point into Wolves going into the Ferocious Wolf Pack so that you sometimes get Fortify from it. You definitely get a point into Poison Creeper and then go Ferocious Poison Creeper because this makes it last even longer, doing exponentially more damage. Poison Creeper is super sleeper strong. Then obviously you get Ravens, but go Brutal Ravens because it's going to add 1 more to your Raven Pack or 2 more to your Raven Pack or whatever. And this adds to your Shepherd's aspect. Again, something we're going to go over super soon. But of course, Nature's Reach is going to deal extra damage to distant enemies. Not only is this benefit us right now, but this is also going to have something to do with our Paragon board later. On the next tree, there is something that I change up a little bit instead of what you see here on the max roll guide. I definitely go Trample with the resource generation part of Trample, but then when it comes to the lightning passives up here in the top, I definitely have 1 into Elemental Exposure, but I go 3 into Charged Atmosphere because I like things automatically killing stuff for me so that I have to do a little bit less work. But 3 into Electric Shock is fantastic. 3 into Bad Omen is also amazing. And then the reason I'm able to go 3 into Charged Atmosphere is because I don't have 1 point into this Posture one, and I don't have 1 point into Nature's Resolve. But regardless, in the ultimate tree, you go 3 into Defiance, 3 into Natural Disaster, 3 in Circle of Life, and 3 into Resonance. All of these passives up here increase your damage in one way or another, but one of the biggest things is Circle of Life. Every time you cast something that consumes spirit, you regenerate 3% of your health. And with this build, you're kind of spamming shit all the time, so this is super helpful. And for the key passive, you think you would go Perfect Storm, but in reality, you go Urson Strength. Because you heal so much and because you're so ranged, you are almost always healthy, and thus you always gain the damage benefit from being healthy with Urson Strength. And between you and me and everybody else that watches this video, which is maybe 16 of you, I don't know if I'm saying Urson right. I don't know if there's another way to say it, and I haven't Googled it to really find out. So if I'm saying that wrong, that's going to be pretty fucking embarrassing. Now for the Druid Spirit boons, I'm going to just post them up on the screen, probably somewhere up on that side, and it's just going to be Wariness as for the Stag one or whatever the Horned Demon is. Scythe Talons for the increased critical strike chance, and Avian Wrath for the increased critical strike damage. Energize because dealing damage has a chance to restore your spirit, and because this one is actually pretty resource heavy, I like going this over the other one. I think it's Pack Leader that people do. And then finally Overload, which is going to give you more damage to your target, but also more AoE, which is kind of badass because this is for free. Now onto the aspects. I know that we were just talking about this like 30 seconds ago, but the main one that you absolutely need is Shepherds. That's because Shepherds is going to give you bonus damage to your Lightning Storm for every single active companion you have out on the field. And then 2 other offensive aspects that you want to go. One of them is Overcharge, which is just like Overload. It gives you a little bit of bonus damage to your target, but also some AoE damage around that target. It's a chance on hit. And the last one is Intercom, and that one is going to give you bonus damage always, but it's going to triple the effect of how much it gives you if you're standing still for longer than a couple of seconds, which you do when it comes to bosses and large groups. And then for the defensive aspects, you use the normal 2, which is like Disobedience and Might, because you use one of your basic skills pretty often with this one. But you also use Protector, which gives you a small barrier every time you damage an elite or a boss. Now for the stats, in Season 4, things changed kind of dramatically and altered the way that stats work, meaning they discontinued a lot of the weird shit where you don't have to be jumping on a trampoline and petting your dog at the same time to do bonus damage. They kind of consolidated a lot of that stuff, which is awesome. So what we really need on this Lightning Storm Summon Druid is high weapon damage. That's probably the most important, followed closely by willpower, crit strike chance, crit strike damage, and even resource cost reduction, because Lightning Storm does get pretty pricey when you have it at its max channel capacity. As for defensive stats, cooldown reduction is a big one. You get to use your companion skills a lot more, and that Poison Creeper one absolutely fucking destroys. But then you want other damage reducing stats like bonuses to armor, maximum resistance, or even maximum life. And for the Paragon board, I know this can be daunting for a lot of people. It still kind of is for me, but there are amazing resources out there like Maxroll who dedicate an absolutely incredible amount of time to giving resources like this to people like us who don't want to do this themselves. So I like to follow some of their guides. I follow them somewhat loosely, and I kind of change 20 to 30 points tailored to my own experience, whether I need more damage or need more life. But the way they have it set up here is at the start, you fill this out like this, and you go for the exploit glyph, and the exploit glyph is going to give you more vulnerable damage. And then the next board, you get ancestral guidance, which is going to give you more damage every time you spend a certain amount of spirit. And then for the glyph on this board, you're going to go keeper, which is going to give you and your companions more non-physical damage. And it's double if you get extra intelligence. And for the next board, you're going to go thunderstruck, which is just going to give you more damage through and through. And the glyph on this board is territorial, which is going to give us more damage and also damage reduction to close enemies. The board after that is constricting tendrils, and the glyph you go for is earth and sky, which is going to just give us a little bit more of our nature magic damage, and that just adds again to our lightning storm. You notice the trend with this entire board is just adding more damage, because you really don't need a whole lot of damage reduction when you're a fucking cannon. Finally, the last board they have here is heightened malice with the electrocution glyph, and this one is just going to give us raw lightning damage and an ass load of it. And I know I stated my caveat kind of before going over this, but you can really do whatever you want to do when it comes to the Paragon board. You can use resources like Maxroll if you want to, like I do, or you can just kind of trailblaze and wing it. But the main point is, as long as you're having fun, it doesn't fucking matter what you choose. Now for the endgame gear, something that you might be surprised you go for is Tempest Roar. And maybe only a few of you are actually going to find that even remotely humorous, but the real idea is that Tempest Roar is like the second most sought after item in the entire game. Because what it does is it changes a whole hell of a lot about how this build works, like adding poison damage, which means you then benefit from a lot of the poison modifiers that are out there. The other one you want to go for is Unsung, whatever the fuck this is, wraps. These give you a ton of ranks to your lightning storm. They give you extra bolts. They give you crit chance, and then they give you a double strike every time you crit something for even more damage than the original strike was. I would say it's a toss-up. I don't know which one of these two uniques is more important to this build. I kind of want to go with the Unsung, whatever the fuck. But either way, these are like monumental for this build. It's kind of crazy. Now, the playstyle on this one, I would say, is probably medium. The thing that people don't necessarily understand right away is that Lightning Storm is a channeled ability, so it grows and gets larger the longer you hold the button down. So you can't just sit there and click spam the shit out of it. You actually have to hold it to get it up to a certain point. After that, you can click spam and you'll actually cast it faster, but you must first build up the storm before you can unleash it, essentially. But once you figure it out, I mean, you have to use it like maybe 3 times and you'll get it. It's really not that difficult at all. It's just understanding how that mechanic works, because it took a while for me to actually grasp it and read the skill. But other than that, the rest of your toolkit is super simple. They're just companion skills, and you can use them either on elites or bosses. The Poison Creeper's AoE thing is a constrict, so it holds everything in place. So if you're getting your ass pounded, you can just throw your Poison Creeper and kind of move out of the way and start lightning storming again from a little bit of a distance. Now, objectively, this is one of the fastest clearing builds in the game, and I mean when I say that. It has fucking insane AoE. It absolutely destroys bosses, and it kind of almost never dies. I put it up on the pit clapometer, and it actually scored the fastest time at 2 minutes and 52 seconds. And while I tested, I think 33 builds on the PTR, none of them were faster than this. In my opinion, when I was doing this, I don't think I expected to have as much fun as I did playing this build on the PTR. And knowing that once you kind of understand the mechanic, you really can just decimate literally anything with it. I have to say, this is probably the best Druid build that I can recommend in the game. I'm going to give this one a solid 9.5 out of 10, which is staggering to me. But the most important question is, what are you playing this season in Diablo 4? And what are you farming? What are you building up to? You'll have to let me know in the comments down below, and on your way down there, maybe like and subscribe, because they're free and they really help out the channel here. I do try to stream like once a week. The best way to keep up on when I'm going to do that is just join our Discord and pay attention to the announcements tab in there. It might be wise to check those out though, because I think I'm going to be doing some giveaways here this season. But for real, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video, and if you're bored, YouTube is going to recommend this next one for you. Happy grinding, travelers, and we'll see you in Sanctuary.